Holy cow, that's what I get for having kids in while I do this. Okay, so the included side in the ASA is the side between the two angles of the triangle being used. We talked about that. All right, the non-included side in AAS, this one right here, angle, angle, side, or side, angle, angle, can be either of the two sides that are not directly between the two angles being used. Again, we talked about that. This one is just the angle that the side that's not in between these two angles. So it could be this one or it could be this one. It's just not the one that's included. Okay? All right, next page. All right, some methods. Not all methods work to prove congruence, and we're going to talk about two of them that sometimes will work, but not always, and so you can't count on them to work. The first one is angle, 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 AAA. Angle, angle, angle. Now you can see in this example right here that we've got that these three angles are congruent with each other, but obviously these two triangles are not the same size, which means they are not congruent. Okay, so this is just an example of how this does not work. Okay, so three congruent angles does not always mean the triangles are congruent. Sometimes it does, but not always. So the example above shows two triangles that are similar. Remember, we talked about the definition of a similar triangle in the beginning of this lesson, but not congruent. Okay. Their angles are all congruent, but their sides are not. And the last one is SSA, or it could be ASS, but I did not put it that way in the notes. So this is side angle, or it could be angle, side, you know, a donkey, okay? So look here, you can see that this angle B right here is congruent to this angle D. They're both 45 degrees. Okay, and then I have this side and this side that are the same lengths, but you can see that because of the angle here at this corner, how this one comes way in and it's an obtuse angle, but this one is an acute angle. You can see that obviously these two triangles are not congruent. So sometimes a side-side angle will show that it's congruent, but it is not a proof that we will ever use to prove that they're congruent. So above is an example of how two triangles can have one congruent angle and two congruent sides and still not be congruent. They're not even similar, right? They're not even the same shape. So these ones aren't even a similar triangle. All right. Oh no. I think this is going to end up being 2 videos. Crud. Oh well, sorry guys. Okay, so order matters. Make sure to pay attention to the labeling. So look at these two triangles here. These two triangles are congruent. You can see that they've got 1, 2, 3 sides that are congruent, and then they've got about 1, 2, 3 angles that are congruent, which means that these are congruent, okay? But when we're labeling stuff, we really need to make sure that we pay attention to what goes in which order, and you're going to be practicing this on the homework today, and so it's really important to practice it. So let's talk about CA right here, this line right here from A to C or C to A, okay, this one right here. So we would call this line CA. Now, CA is congruent to FD, okay? So we'd write it like this. Now, some ways that we could write this wrong, ways to write it wrong, to get it wrong, let's put it that way, because these are ways you do not want to do. Don't do this. Okay? One way we could get this wrong is to say that side CA is congruent to side FE, okay? Because this side is over here on this side of the triangle, a lot of us might assume that this is the side it's congruent to without actually counting the lines. Okay, notice how this one has 2 and this one has 3. That means that they're not congruent. Even though both of them are kind of on the same side of the triangle, they're both kind of at the top of the triangle, these ones are not congruent, okay? Another thing we could do wrong is say that line CA is congruent to line DF. Now, you might think, what's the big deal if I put F first or D first? It's the same line. Well, it does matter. If I'm starting at C, which is the angle with 3 lines, and I'm going up to A, which is the angle with 2 lines, I need to label it the same way when I'm talking about congruency. So I need to, again, start at the angle that has 3, just like this one, and go to the angle that has 2, like this one. So this one is not correct either. Okay, you've really got to pay attention to that. Now, there's another way we could write something wrong when we're talking about triangles. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Okay, so this one's right. These ones are good. Let's put little happy faces by them. These are the correct ways. Ways that you don't want to write this is that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EFD. Okay, you might be more inclined to do it that way, because, or maybe even EDF, because this one starts at the top, goes down, and then it comes across. And so you might be kind of thinking, oh, that's what I'll do. I'll come here and go here and I'll go here. But that's not correct, because this one's turned and flipped and it's rotated. So you need to just make sure that you're really paying attention to the order of things. So what did I say? That was EDF. That's another one that we don't want to do. Okay, so please, please, please make sure that you're paying attention to the order of stuff, which I said is going to be in your homework, so you're really going to have to pay attention to it. All right, now that's the lesson. Sorry that it ended up being in 2 videos. If this is the in-class assignment, I'm going to go over 3 of them with you, and then you'll do the rest. I'm also going to go over a couple of homework questions with you. So if you want to pause this and go grab the homework assignment so that you can follow along, that would be great. I think that's a great idea. That way you know what we're doing. Okay? All right. So question number 1. All you're going to determine is which type of information is given to you, and then you're going to pick one of these. Okay? One of the postulates that we just learned. So looking at this, we've got a side marked, an angle marked, and another side. So this one could be side, angle, side. It could also be side, side, angle. But what we need to do is we need to go back and look at what our definition of side, angle, side says and determine if that's what it is. So if we come here, side, angle, side says that it's the 2 sides and the included angle. So this side is in, this angle is included. It's the angle made by the connection of those 2 sides. So it's this one, not this one. Okay. Now here we have an angle, we have a side, and we have another angle. Okay, so looking up here, it could be angle, side, angle, or it could be angle, angle, side. I just need to determine which one it is based off of what the definitions tell me. So the side, angle, side, that side needs to be included between the 2 angles. That's the difference. So let's go back and look and see if it is. So we've got an angle and we've got an angle here, and it's not, this would be the side that would be included. But since it's not that one, it's not this, it's this one. All right, let's look at number 3. So number 3 gives me an angle, it gives me a side, and it gives me an angle. Okay. Now this is another one that could be angle, side, angle, or it could be angle, angle, side. We just have to determine which one it is. This one, this side is connected between these 2 angles. So this one is the one that matches the ASA. Okay. So you're going to go through the rest of these and you are going to figure out which ones they are. Make sure this gets turned in before you leave class today into the bucket, please. If you don't turn it in today, then it will be late when you turn it in next class period. Now let's go on to the homework. Here's the homework. Make sure your name gets put on it. This is due next class period, so make sure you write that. It's due April, what is today, the 3rd for you guys, so it's going to be due April 5th. Okay. So this is the same kind of thing. It says for each problem, give the correct naming order. So this is this important stuff that we just talked about right here. Okay, this important stuff about order. Of the congruent triangles, write that name in order on the lines for the problem number. So we're going to be filling out something down here. It's going to make some kind of little sentence. And then also indicate what postulate is being used. So we're going to say, is it ASA? Is it SSS? That kind of thing. All right, so let's try number 1 together. So number 1, before we even talk about what postulate is being used, this one goes A, B, C. Okay, so I need to determine which order this triangle is congruent to. So if I look at A, I can see that it's not an angle that is congruent. So if I look over here, I've got a W or an R that's not congruent. Okay. What I also can see is that it's connected to the line that's congruent to number 2. So if I look here, W is only connected to the line marked with a 1. The R is connected to the line with a 2, so it's got to start with R. Then this one goes to B, which is the other angle without congruent marks, so it's got to be W. And then the last one is I. So you can see this one goes clockwise, and this one goes counterclockwise. So this thing's been rotated. Okay. So now let's talk about which postulate they used. So we've got a side, we've got an angle, and we've got a side. Now what we could use is either side angle, which actually isn't one we can use, or side angle side. And this one says, okay, it's got to be that angle that's connected to the two sides, that's made by the connection of those two sides, which this one is. So this one is SAS. Okay, so now you look for you got number 1, and we're going to be putting in RWI. So we're going to come down here to the bottom. We're going to find number 1. 1 starts right here on the other side of O. So we're just going to put in the order of our triangle, RWI. Okay, so now these are all words are all put together. You don't know where the spaces are. So when you're done, you're going to have to like rewrite the sentence down here so I know you figured it out. Okay, I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to end this video because they're getting long. This one right here. So it's triangle ABC. So ABC. Now, triangle A is the angle with one line on it. So all I have to do is come over here and find the triangle or the angle with one line on it, and I know that the first one is E. Okay? B is the triangle without any, or the angle, sorry, without any line on it, and I know that that's S on this one, so S. And then the only thing left is H. Okay? So that one was pretty easy. And now let's talk about this. We've got an angle, and we've got a side. So this one can be angle, angle, side, or it could be angle, side, angle. Remember with the angle, side, angle, this side that we're using is the one that's connecting in between the two angles. So if this was the one we were using, it would have to be this side that was congruent, but it's not. It's one of these outside ones, and so that's this one, not this one. So that's AAS. Okay? So now number 2, we're going to use ESH. So number 2, when you come down, is right here. You've got, it starts on the one side of the S, so we're going to put an E there. We're going to put an S and then an H. Okay? All right, so this is due when you guys come back to class next time, the in-class assignment that we've done 3 on already. You only have 12 more to do on your own, super simple. Due before you leave class today. Make sure you filled in all your notes because this stuff is super important. If you don't get this stuff, you're in trouble. All right, guys, thank you for being good kids. Make sure your 7.1 homework is turned in before you leave. Make sure your 7.2 in-class assignment is turned in before you leave today. And I will see you on Thursday. Thanks, guys. Bye.